It was a commuter headache in '08 when the employees of the city's major transit service went on strike.
You gotta be kidding me.
The weekend strike ended when employees were legislated back to work. Relief for the 1.5 million passengers who rely on the TTC every day. In Vancouver, the strange but true stories made headlines in 2008. Here's Mark Doherty with why a mystery involving feet had everyone talking.
I'm Mark Doherty at City TV in Vancouver, BC. Here's what made headlines in our city in 2008. Major stories from the West Coast for 2008. I'm Mark Doherty, City News, Vancouver.
The Grey Cup victory was a big good news story out of Calgary this year. Here's Sandra Jansen with the other newsmakers and breakers of '08.
I'm Sandra Jansen for City News in Calgary. Here's what made headlines in our city in 2008. Stories from our city in 2008. I'm Sandra Jansen for City News, Calgary.
Our look at Canada's top stories of the year would not be complete without hockey. Here's Rob Hislop in Edmonton with the top stories in '08 that included a record 241-hour hockey game.
I'm Rob Hislop for City News in Edmonton. These are some of the stories that people have been talking about in our city this year. I'll start with one that perhaps more than all the others ruffled people's feathers around the world. Those are the major news stories out of Edmonton for 2008. I'm Rob Hislop for City News Edmonton.
Wrapping up our look at the top news stories from the major Canadian cities is Brian Yasui in Winnipeg.
I'm Brian Yasui for City News in Winnipeg. Our top story in 2008 made headlines around the world. A passenger was beheaded on board a Greyhound bus bound for Winnipeg. Our final story put Winnipeg on national newscast during last October's federal election campaign. Conservative leader Stephen Harper came to town to make an election promise. It had something to do with Manitoba vegetables. Later, in front of a display of those vegetables, he was in a question and answer session with the media. After a number of them, City TV's Mark Jardine was given the final question. He asked Harper, given his surroundings, if he could be any kind of vegetable, what would he be?
I really don't know how to answer that one. I've never been asked that question before, and I have a feeling that I can't win by answering that question. Let me say this. I would choose, if I had to instead, to be a fruit, just what I am, sweet and colorful.
And those are the major news stories out of Winnipeg for 2008. I'm Brian Yasui for City News, Winnipeg.